ship one.
Yeah.
And it kind of got into the story.
Yeah.
So this is going to be
That's okay,
more
'cause you're
getting into the story.
Yeah, no, I'm good with it. I'm fine with it.
So,
Yeah.
because he
Okay.
touched on, he hit a good one-liner that was like, remember,
What did I say?
It was about the burn the ship.
It was kind of a burn the ship moment. Yeah.
And I was like, we got to capture that. You know? And so now we can capture it. You know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
All right, whenever you're ready. Okay. Hello, everybody. This is Roy Heatherly with the Monroe Chamber of Commerce. I'm joined with Quentin Durr again for Small Business Stories. Quentin is with Origin Bank. He's a Regional Development Business Manager, and he's also founder of Louisiana Catalyst. And today we're joined with a very special guest, Jay Mulhern, who is friends to all of us. He's also chairman this year of the Monroe Chamber of Commerce, but he's very active throughout our community. If there's a men's retreat, a men's group, or other nonprofits, you'll probably find Jay. So, Jay, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
absolutely. Glad to have you. So I was
Thanks.
telling Roy earlier, I said, Jay's got to be either having the best time or the worst time right now with employment.
Depends on the day.
You know,
It depends on the day.
I feel like the demand is really high, but
Yeah.
the supply is really low.
Yeah, it is. It's a challenge. It's a challenge really just to get the right people in the right place. I mean, honestly, that's what my job's all about. It's matchmaking, and so finding the people who are super motivated and skilled are that's the gold mine there. But when we find those people that have the skills and have the motivation, then we're in great shape. Unfortunately, there's several people that are skilled with no motivation, and there are several people that are motivated and not skilled. But those we can work with. Again, it's about the motivation. If they're ready and eager to do something. You know what I hear all the time? Nobody's going to know exactly how to do the job we need them to do. Just find me somebody who'll come in and learn. Find me somebody who'll come in, show up every day, and work hard and learn. And Roy, you and I heard that recently at a visit that we went to, and I hear that all the time. It's just you don't have to have the skills. You don't have to. Honestly, if you're willing to put in some time at the basic level, at an entry level, you don't even have to have the experience. Most organizations around here say people won't know how to do what we do, especially manufacturing. People won't know how to do what we do.
Right.
Let me just bring them in. Let me teach them.
So, first off, how long have you been in business?
Yeah, we kind of jumped right in there, didn't we? I'm
sorry.
sorry. I probably took us a little deeper, a little sooner than we wanted. So Express Employment Professionals is a franchised employment agency, and I've started working with them in 2015.
Okay.
So we're almost in our 8th year. It was late in the year 2015 when we opened. It was September of 2015. So was that 7.5 years or so? Mm-hmm. They had never been in this area. Express Employment Professionals now, we have about 850 locations across the United States and Canada.
Wow.
And we're on a mission to put 1 million people to work. That's our motto. We're on a mission to put 1 million people to work, and we get closer to that every year. About 4 or 5 years ago, we were about 500,000 people. So now we're getting closer and closer every year. So I'm trying to do my part. Put 100 or so people a week here to work, and so that's what we do.
So how do you go out, Jay? And so you solicit business and industry,
Correct,
and say, I want to talk to you about employment needs. But then on the other side of it is the person that is the potential employee.
correct.
And so talk a little bit about that.
The best way for me to find those potential employees is to talk to potential employees, if that makes any sense. The best way for me to do it is to find those motivated and skilled people that we are able to help and say, send me all your friends. Because you are the average of your 5 closest friends.
Right.
And so when I find somebody who has that special mix of motivation and skills or ability to learn or willingness to learn, then I say, bring me all your friends. So that's the number one way I do it. I mean, we do things on social media, and we do things on, going out and sourcing people through Indeed or things like that. We do a lot of the same things a lot of people do. But honestly, and every company should be doing this. Not, I'm kind of giving away my secret, but every company should be doing this. It's go find me your friends, bring me your friends, and let me put them to work.
That's great. That's great. And do you work with small business as much as large manufacturing? You work with everybody.
Yeah, we work with everybody. I was thinking about that this morning as I was kind of preparing mentally for this conversation. I work with global manufacturers, and I work with independent accountants and insurance agents and everything in between. Those kind of are 2 ends of the spectrum right now. but kind of everything in between. Restaurants, little local mom and pop restaurants, love working with them, and I really love working with local businesses. I mean, you guys know that.
So you have to. How much do you have to understand the business? So how much do you have to understand Berry Global versus My Rose Restaurant or some of these people that you work with? How much?
Well, that's the key to it, because one of my mottos, basically for every aspect of life, is how do you define success? So how does My Rose Restaurant define success, and how does Berry Global define success? And it's two vastly different things.
Right.
Those are great examples because they're on opposite ends of the spectrum. So we get to know their business. I mean, that's one of our other things about Express. That's one of the things that drew me into Express several years ago, is we go in and we get to know your business. And whether it's My Rose and it's a local place with just a single location, a guy just doing the best he can, doing great food and providing a great atmosphere, or if it's Berry Global, where they've got a lot of different goals, and I'm glad you brought up Berry, because that's actually where I came from, so I am familiar with them. There's just a myriad of different goals that they have, and again, it's let me just sit down with you, let me spend a few minutes making sure we understand what your definition of success is, because then we can find the people that help you get to it.
Oh, like that. What about the business or company that has a specific role, just one-off? Do you headhunt type thing?
Yeah.
I feel like very much you're in the networking industry, right? It's
Right.
like
Right.
you got to know somebody. But I would feel
Right.
like you would be the guy I'd want to know, to have in my back pocket,
Oh,
just in case when I have a need, I let you know about it, just
Right.
in case you run across it, and then you're able to put it together, kind of like a connector.
Yeah, that's a lot of what we do is connector, and the beauty of it is, when you're talking about specific needs and you're talking about maybe higher skilled, higher end, higher experience level kind of thing. The beauty of it is, again, I got 850 offices I can give them a call to, and I'm real good friends with the guy that owns Express in Shreveport, and the folks in Jackson, and the guy in Alexandria, and so just locally. We're able to kind of put our heads together, and then if we need to expand more for professional type searches, then I've got some other places that I can call. But you're right. Locally, what I try to do is make sure I'm networking, because I do need to know, if somebody says, "Hey, keep an eye out for this," then I can kind of keep that in the back of my mind and try to make those connections and
How often do you have employed people looking for employment?
Not as much lately. We used to have that quite a bit, but not as much lately. And sometimes there are certain industries that pop up where people are just going, I think it's time for a change.
Right.
And sometimes it's just people saying it's time for me to do something different. But you know what? I mean, that's and I don't want to rush our conversation, but that was me. These 7 or 8 years ago. It's just like, it's time for a restart. So I really encourage that. I strongly encourage that. I strongly encourage the opportunity to restart when it's time for a restart. And it doesn't matter how long you've been doing something. Again, if you can come in and be motivated and learn, you can restart anytime you want.
Well, actually, that was my next question, but and you've kind of answered it, but talk about the process a little bit. Here you are, in charge of sales for a major international company, and you're traveling all over the world.
Yeah.
You're just doing all this stuff, and all of a sudden you change and you go into ownership of a small business.
Yeah.
And talk a little bit about.
Yeah, I've got a friend who recently has kind of put a term in my head, an entrepreneurial spirit. It's easier for me to think it than it is for me to say it.
Yeah.
But
Or spell it.
yeah, don't forget about spelling it. Yeah. So I kind of felt like I always had that. I spent almost 25 years in the corporate world, and like you said, I was the director of sales for a small division in a huge company. And I remember telling my wife, probably 5 or 6 years before, I said, I don't know what and I don't know when, but I need to do something different. And when I do something different, it's got to be something on my own. My story is the same as a lot of stories. I was a victim of my own success. I was kind of imprisoned by my success because I was successful. I was making good money. I was providing for my family in a way that everybody wanted me to provide for my family, except for the fact that, to your point, Roy, I was traveling all the time. I was all over North America, literally all over North America. 1 week I could be in Tampa, the next week I could be in California, and the next week I could be in Montreal, literally like that. And I remember towards the end of that, Deanna and I had a conversation towards the end of the year, and she said, "Hey, do you know how much you were gone this year?" And I said, "No, I don't. I know it was a lot. I know it was a busy year. And when we say gone, I mean, I'd be 2 or 3 days a week. I wasn't one of these people. Fortunately, I didn't have to go out and be gone all week and then come back on the weekends. But I still was gone 2 or 3 nights a week." She said, "Well, I counted them." And I'm like, "Okay, that's a problem."
First red flag.
Exactly. First red flag. She said, "You were gone 40 weeks this year."
Wow.
And I went, "That's what I said." I said, "Wow, I knew it was busy." And that's really when kind of things started ramping up. My faith in God really drives a lot of my decision making and things like that. And fortunately, I was able to tap into that and use that to help me kind of know when the right opportunity came up. I guess is the best way to say it. It's one of those deals where I know that God provides and prepares you for things, and that's really what He was doing at that time. As I was looking back, a lot of times you don't see that until afterwards. And I don't want to turn this into a podcast that it's not. I can talk about faith and how God guides me a lot, and maybe in another podcast. But that's really what it was. It was really paying attention to His guidance so that I saw the right opportunity when it came up.
No,
It's a big leap.
look, I like that. A lot of the Spirit convicts what your directions are when you're led by faith, and you kind of see things and you go, this just feels right.
Yeah.
And it feels like it's effortless in one
Right.
manner. Now there comes a lot of effort, but the way
Yeah.
it comes together, it just feels right, and you don't mind taking on the effort.
Yeah, it does. And I'll tell you this, I don't want people to misinterpret that, because that doesn't ease the uneasiness.
Right.
It doesn't calm nerves when you're leaving, when all I've ever known is corporate job, when all I've ever known is a guaranteed paycheck.
Right.
And good bonuses and good things like that, good perks that I had, and then I go out to, I got to kill it and drag it back to the cave kind of mentality, and it's still very nerve wracking, and I've shared this with people in the past, and again, if I'm going off in a tangent that y'all don't want to go, we can reel it back in, but again, the faith was a big part, and not just mine, my wife's faith too. And she said something to me, and I think it might have been in a text message. I was going to Oklahoma City, where our corporate headquarters is, for like the final meet and greet with them. We'd done a lot of work on the phone. We spent a lot of time doing due diligence on each other, and a lot of conversations on the phone. And this was the time where I was going to meet with them, and it was kind of basically it was described as, hey, if we like you the way we think we like you, we're going to move forward. If you like us the way you think you like us, then we'll move forward. And she sent me a text message that morning. She said, "Look, I believe in you." And she said, "Whatever you decide, that's what we're going to go do." So,
That's
you
great.
can,
Yeah.
I get emotional about something like that, but that's the scary part. Like I said, you're absolutely right, Quentin. Our faith does give us some security, and it does give us some confidence and some peace, but there's still, I got a family,
Right.
And that's what all these small business, I know this is about small business, and that's what all these small business people, are thinking about. They're thinking about, I need to do things because I know I can do them. I have confidence to run a business. I have confidence that I can provide something that this community needs that's different from somebody else. But at the end of the day, I got a family I got to support,
Right.
and that's the key to small business, and that's what keeps us all hungry. That's what keeps us all driving and going. Is I've got something that this community needs, and I can do it. And honestly, I can do it better than anybody else. That's in the mindset of a small business person. I can do something better than somebody else, and I can do it. But then the other side of it is I'm motivated because I still got a family to provide for.
Right.
And Jay, one of the aspects before we kind of wrap up is you do have a servant's heart, and you're our chairman.
Right.
You were on the West Monroe Chamber Board.
Correct.
And you are very active in men's groups and stuff like that. Talk a little bit about, with this change, it's afforded you the opportunity to get involved in your community.
Yeah, absolutely. So the other thing I talk about a lot too, when I made that move, and before we started recording, we talked about kind of that burn the ships moment. I love that phrase because, it kind of goes back to an old explorer kind of mentality where they would land in a new world, and burn the ship so nobody's going back. And so when we get to that point, what I realized too is I spent a lot of time taking from this community because I lived here. I enjoyed the benefits of living here. I enjoyed everything that Northeast Louisiana has to offer us. And I would drive and I would park in my truck in the parking lot of the airport, and I would leave town for several days, and then I would come back and enjoy the benefits. And so when I opened a small business and when I became part of the community, my roots just really started to develop the way they should have, the way all of our roots should develop, and that is to give something to the community, to provide being part of the community that gives all these great things to everybody in the community. So when you look at the Chamber of Commerce, how can I help the Chamber of Commerce? When you look at, like you say, the men's groups that I work with, another thing is I'm on the board for FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. These are things that now I have time to do that I didn't have time to do
Right.
because I was getting on an airplane all the time. And I'm just going to pour everything I got into them.
That's great. Well, Jay, one last question.
All right.
Are you optimistic about our future?
Oh, yeah. I'm very optimistic about our future. You know, that's the beauty of being involved. When you're involved, you see everything that's going on, and you see the potential that we have, and you see the opportunity that things are coming. And so being more involved makes you more optimistic. If it doesn't, then you're not involved in the right thing.
Right.
I'm definitely way more optimistic. When you're not involved, it's super deep on a community level, then all you see is the surface level bad stuff. But dig in and really get to know what's going on, and you can't help but be optimistic.
That is fantastic. Well, Jay Mulhern, Express Employment, thank you so much.
Thank you.
For being with us today. I'm Roy Heatherly. I'm joined by Quentin Durr. You've been listening to Small Business Stories, sponsored by the Monroe Chamber of Commerce and Louisiana Catalyst. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.